Good evening. I'd like to call to order tonight's meeting of the ISD 191 Burnsville-Egan Savage School Board. The date is April 25th, 2019, and the time is 6:30 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone who's here with us, both in person and at home. We always appreciate having an audience and knowing that people are listening in on the work of the school board. With that, Director Schatz, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will start by approving tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Director Schatz. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Courier. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Turning to the information portion of our meeting tonight, Future Ready and Community Strong, I'd like to turning it over to Superintendent Amoroso to share with us information about the student experience at Disney Dreamers Academy.
Thank you. I'm introducing a student who truly reflects the future-ready part of our mission statement. Elise Dees is a senior at Burnsville High School who regularly takes on challenges, getting involved and preparing for future success. Among many other activities, Elise has been especially involved in YMCA Youth in Government program, where this year she presided over the National Issues Forum, which is one of only 16 elected positions in the entire statewide program. More recently, however, she was one of only 100 students across the country to be selected to attend the Disney Dreamers Academy in Florida. Although she couldn't be here tonight, she's busy, we wanted to share her experience with the board and the public, so we have her via recording from the stage of the Burnsville High School Mraz Center.
Hi, my name is Elise Dees. I am a senior at Burnsville High School, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there today. I am actually working on Seussical, and we have opening night tonight, so unfortunately I had to be there for that. But I am very excited to tell you about the program that I was very fortunate to participate in. I was able to participate as one of 100 people in the class of 2019 for Disney Dreamers Academy. It is run by the Steve Harvey Radio Show and Walt Disney World. They're partners together, so it's very cool. So how it works was you submit your application amongst 10,000 or more applications, and then they pick the top 100. I got selected sometime in December, so when I found out, it was around Christmas, and it was very exciting to find out about that. And then we flew down to Florida on a Thursday morning, and then we had a whole 4 days packed full of events and mentorships and different speakers coming to tell us different things. It was very much like an investment program, so amongst the kids they picked, they felt like they were very big dreamers and they wanted to invest in their dreams. So we were split into our desired career fields. For me, I was I was split into the engineering and imagineering group, which are people who are interested in engineering, architecture, design, anything that involves building or creating things. And these were called deep dives. So in your deep dive, you were paired with people who work at Disney World, people who work in your industry, or just people who are very knowledgeable about your industry, and you got to work on a project. So for my group, our project was to build an attraction, kind of like how Imagineers do in Disney World. So our attraction was based off of 2 random Disney characters that we got to pick, and then we got to build a roller coaster of sorts out of like those plastic marble runs, and that was a lot of fun. And then at the end of the weekend, they had kind of like a career expo called Open Mouse, where all of the career fields and the kids, and then we got to present our projects to actual professionals who were walking around. And they gave us business cards. They kind of prepared us for what it's like to sponsor yourself and to promote yourself in your desired career field. I'd say the biggest thing that I learned over the weekend was learning about connections, how to foster your connections and your relationships with people. that was something that they told us from the very beginning. As soon as we got off the plane, you're gonna meet people who have done great things. You're gonna meet people who can be your mentors. You're gonna meet people and other students who are gonna be great connections for you later on. So you need to get their contact info. You need to learn about what they do, learn a little bit more about them and how it relates to you and what you can use them for later on in life. And as well as to foster those relationships, to keep in contact with people, to email them after a week or so if you met them. That's something that I feel like is not necessarily taught. It's a skill that you learn. And for me to be taught that skill at such a young age, I feel like is going to set me up for success later on in life. And then at the end of the weekend, we have our awards ceremony. And the awards ceremony, they honor the people who stuck out that weekend, people who they thought were the best dreamer or had the best background story or overcame a lot. And then they also gave out some internships and gave people opportunities to grow and further their career. So for my group, they were giving out they were flying one person down to Glendale, California to tour the Walt Disney Imagineering building and kind of job shadow for a few days. So I got selected for that. So I'll be going down to California hopefully sometime this summer to kind of learn more about Walt Disney Imagineering. That's been my interest and desired career goal since I was very little, and I'm very excited to be going. So this opportunity was truly something amazing, and it's going to stick with me forever and ever, and I'm so honored and grateful to have been a part of it. Please come and watch Seussical. This is going to be our final musical for the year. It's going to be great. It's fun. It's a fantastic family show. Everybody's going to love it. Please come and support Seussical.
What the students in 191 can accomplish with the opportunities that we have and the skills and the knowledge that they bring to the table and that they develop while they're here. And if that wasn't all impressive enough, Elise says she's narrowed her choice of colleges to either Wellesley College or Howard University, two of the most respected schools in the country. Not a bad decision or choice to have to make. So congratulations to Elise. We're very, very proud of her. And we're so happy that she was able to earn and take advantage of opportunities like this. I have no doubt she will continue to do just that into the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Superintendent Amoroso. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Kathy Funston and guests to the podium. We'll learn more about the Burnsville Education Network Employer Breakfast. Welcome, everybody.
Good evening, and I might just ask Tim, could you pull our presentation up, please? So I'll start while this is loading. Good evening, Chair Alt, Directors of the Board, Superintendent Amoroso, and Sundus. I am really pleased to be here tonight with three co-presenters and partners to share information about the Business Education Network, the projects and their impact on student participation and engagement, and a recent event hosted by the network. My co-presenters this evening are Jennifer Harmoning, the president of the Burnsville Chamber of Commerce, Dion Clark, owner and CEO of TCI Solutions, and David Lake, a Burnsville High School student. So the Business Education Network is a group of business leaders and educators who are working to respond to the district's mission. Each student, future ready, community strong, through a series of intentional opportunities that connect business leaders with education and with schools and the classroom. It's important for all 191 students to be academically prepared to pursue their next educational opportunities, as well as know about and be exposed to the variety of careers that await them. The Burnsville Education Network is able to provide access and opportunity to unique, interesting, and relevant programs, helping all students graduate with a plan.
Good evening. We've been so fortunate to have such eager partners here with the school district, the chamber, and the folks here at the table. We've been able to develop in the last year and a half really a really deep lineup of programs, as you see in front of you. We started with the Workplace Skills Certificate Program, as some of you are familiar. We've actually graduated 3 groups of students from that program now in the last year and a half. This program is something that our businesses are super excited about because they are finding it difficult to find people with the core skill sets they're looking for. We focus on these core skills in this class, attitude, attendance, appearance, and things that help the students really prepare to go into their first job, to go into the workforce with those core skills. We've added to that, we very quickly added to that a teacher externship last summer, followed by a counselor externship last fall, and gearing up for our teacher externship again this summer. This was an opportunity for our teachers and counselors to get out into the workplace. We exposed them to multiple businesses over the course of several days, and understanding what the workforce looks like for their students, and helping them prepare their curriculum and their teaching styles and their being a resource for their students as they're picking career pathways within their education and preparing for their future. We moved on to that. We also have the South Metro Student Job Fair. We just hosted that 2 weeks ago? A week ago. A week ago. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. This is a great opportunity for students at Burnsville High School that are looking for jobs now, part-time jobs, summer jobs after graduation. We had 36 employers come in and about 350 students come through to meet with those employers, and lots of good relationships coming out of that experience. Another fun opportunity that was developed in partnership with the school district, the chamber, and the city was the Burnsville Family Fest. We had such a successful outing last October for our first time, and we're gearing up now for next October. This is an excellent opportunity for us to show off what's happening here in our schools to the whole community. Our most recent addition to our programs was the Student Job Search Workshop. This was a follow-up to the Workplace Skills Certificate class. This is an opportunity for students not just to learn those core skills, but now learn how to find a job. So we went into how to locate job openings, how to fill out applications, what resumes are for, how to interview for jobs, do's and don'ts, for all of those things. So that was a great addition to that program. Our next, what we hope to launch into next, we figure dealing with students is the first leg of the stool. The second leg is the students, the teachers and the educators, and the next leg of that stool is the parents. So we really hope in the 2019-2020 school year to host a parent forum that brings businesses together with parents so that parents understand not only what's available to them here at the high school for their students, but how that lines up with their future and how that prepares them for all the opportunities after high school. Burnsville Family Fest, I think I jumped ahead into that, where that is just a shining example of what happens when partners come to the table. And like I said, our opportunity to showcase, and the job fair. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead in the presentation a little bit. If you want to add anything, Kathy, from your perspective on those.
Oh, you did a wonderful job. Thank you. So I'm going to just share a little bit more information about our teacher externship program. So if you think about someone going out into a business as an intern, we are actually taking our teachers out to the businesses. So it's taking that educational background and mindset into a business and learning how those business applications and skills that are applied in a business can come back to the classroom and be applied in the classroom. So it's really helping our teachers understand what's needed after school so that they can bring that back. It's the why of why are you learning this and how are you going to use it in real life applications. So last June, as Jennifer said, we had 4 teachers participate, and I'd like to thank our sponsoring businesses from last June. We had Best Western Premier Nicolette Inn, Cornerstone Copy Center, Fairview Ridge's Burnsville Campus, New Spaces, Collins Aerospace, and the Dakota County Workforce Center. So we are currently, Jennifer primarily, is currently, grabbing all of our businesses who will be participating. The great thing is when you introduce a successful program and it's meaningful and relevant to all partners, people want to participate again. So many of our partners are already in, they want to participate and host our teachers again. This June, we already have 9 teachers who will be going, so we're expanding the program. And the following content areas are represented by our participating teachers: English as a second language, culinary and teacher pathway programs, counselor, special education, Spanish, science, math, social studies, and youth service and work experience. So we have a really broad swath of the programs and content areas that are offered at the high school. So I think that by doing these kinds of activities year after year, we create a cadre of staff who are able to have meaningful conversation around why are we teaching this and how is it going to be used. And as Jennifer mentioned, we did have 3 sessions of the Student Workplace Skills Certificate. This particular program it was a 4-week program after school, voluntary, and students signed up to come all 4 sessions. And they were hour-and-a-half sessions after school. These sessions were co-taught by a business leader and an educator. So the students were able to have different perspectives from the business leader and the educator within that course. And as Jennifer mentioned, some of the core skills that were taught in that class: attitude, attendance, appearance, ambition, accountability, acceptance, and appreciation. And it's probably not lost on anyone that these are a bunch of A words, and the title of this particular program is called Bring Your A Game to Work. So upon completion and, of course, perfect attendance, students received a certificate letting future employers know that they know about and are ready to demonstrate these valuable 21st century workplace skills. And you might notice in this picture David Lake, who was in our first cohort of students going through this certificate program. And in just a moment, David is going to share a little bit more from his own perspective of participating in that program.
Hi, my name is David Lake. I go to Burnsville.
You want to go now?
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I go to Burnsville High School, and last spring I completed the Workplace Skills Certificate program. I believe that program really added a benefit to me because when I went to go look for a job, all those A words that she mentioned just gave me the confidence I needed to just go and do what I had to do to get a job. And by doing that, it helped me build up my resume and just get more job experience.
So David just recently changed jobs. And when we were talking about moving from one job to the next, he said that by going through that Workplace Skills Certificate program and working with our business leaders with these skills, it really did boost his confidence to be able to go and have those conversations to go to that next level job. So a little bit more than entry, but still, somewhat entry, right?
Yeah.
The team, you see her up at the table, and thank you, David, for joining us. We worked together on our employer breakfast that we hosted back in March. The purpose of the employer breakfast was to bring employers in to highlight all the programs we were working on, to invite them to participate in things like the job fair and some of these other programs, and also to share with them some insights into the importance of including a more diverse and a younger workforce in their workplace. And joining us at that breakfast was Mr. Deon Clark, and I'd love to have him share with us a little bit of what he shared that morning and a little bit of what he's doing here in the district as well.
Absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. To give you guys a kind of a high level of the work that we do and the tie-in that we're looking to make with the district, big picture, we know that companies are looking for the local talent. We also know the young folks in your district are looking for those opportunities, but there seems to be a disconnect sometimes where those young folks kind of pass by the employer sometimes pass by the young folks, and they literally miss truly their workforce. And so what we took a step back and looked at was what would it take to really get the employers to invest, not just financial, but human capital resources, so that they are literally a part of the development process. And for us, we knew that would do two things. One, when employers have skin in the game, it is amazing what they are willing to do, as opposed to sit back, wait for you to produce. They're a part of that process. And so it really puts them in a position where they're invested. Whatever you ask them to do, typically they'll do it because we give them a framework of this is what you're doing, this is why you're doing it. The other thing that it helps with is as these students begin to engage with the employees who are investing, you begin to see the relationships, which is huge. A lot of the employees, while they are looking for just quality talent, they are looking to be more representative of the particular areas that they serve. And so you have employers who traditionally just don't necessarily know, how do we connect with students who traditionally we've not connected with? And so there's biases that exist sometimes where employers may have their perception of who these young folks are. It's a double-edged sword because some of our young folks have their perception of who these employers are. I'm an energy person. I'm what you call a senior nuclear reactor operator. I'm the 48th black man in American history to hold that license. And that's disgusting. And that's unacceptable. But I can tell you, employers have been looking to figure out how do we get more young black men to pursue nuclear engineering. Meaning if you got me and you brought me in, I know I'm gonna be the only one there. So what does it take to keep me there so I can be successful and begin to add value? That's the relationship. If I was part of a development program where the employers were there with me as I'm being trained, even though I'm walking into a workplace where I may be one of few, I still have 8 or 9 representatives who I've been developing with, meaning I'm not new. That's the retention piece. That allows me to put past my own perceptions of who this employer is. I just gave the employer time to put past their perceptions of who I am. If you take all that combined, that's the legacy model. It's a process that allows us to connect the employers, what they're looking for, directly to the students and catch everything in between. And I mean everything. It makes no point if a student is perfect in math, but they have daddy issues such that the moment they show up to work, they have a meltdown. That student won't be able to give the value that they have, meaning at some point, somebody has to flush out what are those life issues that you're still dealing with that sometimes school can't address. The model accounts for that. So we're talking to start to finish where we'll get the employers online, make sure they understand that the students coming through, this is your talent. It's not a charity case. It's not you doing the altruistic feel good. You literally need these young folks. They're it, and they're the best. It's just a matter of altering the perspective of the employer so that when they do decide to participate, they're doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it truly as an investment into their future workforce. And so the work that we've been able to do working with Dr. Funston and now as we're working with the Chamber, it's just looking at how to bring more employers into the fold so that we bring more resources to the district, give students more opportunities. And for those who say, I'm ready for a particular career path, they have a very specific process they can go through. Just so that you guys know, it's nothing, this is not a pilot. We do this for some of the largest companies in this state, Thomson Reuters, Xcel Energy, the Airports Commission. We do it in Nebraska, we do it in Arizona. So the process is one that has shown that it has real merit, and we're looking to do our best to bring that process to Burnsville, to bring as many employers to the table and give these students as many opportunities to connect to the employers. That was my 30-second. Well, that's sort of big picture of what we're doing. At the employer breakfast, we shared some of those techniques. We also shared some of the impacts of when the employers have the right mindset, when they're looking at the students not so much as well, we've been pressured to do something more, but they realize we actually have a role to play in the students' development. We think that's the perfect combination, and you guys' district seems to be very well primed for these employers to invest more in. And I shall be a part of that. That's the goal. So that's all I'll share.
And we are very appreciative of Dion and his staff and the time and commitment that they've given and continue to give to our students at Burnsville High School and also Burnsville Alternative. Our students are really growing. and being prepared for their future options and opportunities through working with the Legacy Program. So we're very, very happy to partner with you and all of the companies that you have on board with you to help prepare our students for their futures.
And I'll make this last comment. We intentionally partnered with Burnsville Alternative. You guys have a student who recently graduated, Abdi Aziz, who was a refugee, came into Arizona. I didn't know him back then, even though we were running Legacy there. Came up to Minnesota, ended up at Burnsville Alternative. I can tell you all now, Abdi is 4 weeks away from completing all the requirements of a line worker for XL Energy. Abdi will never make less than 6 figures as long as he lives. And you're talking a few years ago, a refugee coming through Burnsville, now he's primed to go to XL Energy. And he's not the only one. And so for us, it was intentional to make sure, again, employers understood the wide range of talent that's within the district and that they can plug in at any point. And that talent is there. And so you guys have a lot of these type of examples that we've been fortunate to see where it is real. You all have a talented group of young folks. I just don't think all employers have really seen what's here in this district. And so that's part of where, to the extent that we can be a part of exposing that, and Abdi is just one example of an extreme case of success right here from the district.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And I would like to thank my co-presenters for their wealth of knowledge and commitment to our district and to our students and their success. And thank you for your time for our presentation. And if you would like more information, the contact information is on the screen.
Great. Thank you all very much. Board members, questions or comments? No? This is just incredible work, and it's so great to hear about the very real connections that are happening between our students and the businesses. I know it's what we've all hoped for, and it's just so reassuring to hear that, hear the progress on that. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Tom Umhofer and Pam Voigt to the podium, where we will receive a report on Bowls for Brain Power. Welcome, Tom. Welcome, Pam.
Need the big chair right there. Good evening, Superintendent Amoroso, Chair Alt, and board members. Thank you for giving us some time tonight to chat with you. I'm going to give just a quick overview of Brain Power before I introduce Pam to talk. I'm assuming some of you aren't really familiar with Brain Power and how we fund part of Brain Power, which is internal giving. And I will come back in the fall to talk a little bit more about internal giving, and I'll keep your curiosity piqued until that time. But our first year of internal giving was 2012 and 2013. That very first year of internal giving, which is all of our staff in the school district participating, we increased our staff participation by 101%, and our giving over the previous United Ways campaign from the year before was 62% more generated donations than we'd ever had. That was a phenomenal success, and we've continued to grow on that. The idea was not necessarily to grow more money, but I'd like to get more staff participating in the program, and we continue to do that every year. It's very exciting to see. Internal giving raises money for 3 particular programs in our school district, all of which impact a child, whether in their classroom, in their stomach, or their family. It's Brain Power in a Backpack. It's ready for kindergarten, which is free to all of our district families, and it's also the Foundation 191, which provides grants for all of our schools in the district. So it's a phenomenal program. It's done very well. I've loved watching it grow. We began Brain Power in theory in 2008. We started with 35 students. Faye Finn, Pam's predecessor, started Brain Power. She had the idea. She created it. She moved forward with it, made it, breathed life into it. Pam then took over from Faye, has done an outstanding and truly amazing job with it, has grown it farther than we ever had dreams of it growing before. If you've been to the Brain Power and Bowls for Success event, you would see that. She's phenomenal at what she does. We are truly, truly lucky to have her as one of our colleagues, and I'm going to let her go now. Thanks.
Okay. So is the presentation going to loop, or should I be pushing the button? I had it set up to loop, but we can push the button. I mean, there's more to it than just that. You want to push the button? Count to 3 and then push the next slide. Okay.
You can do that.
My name is Pam Voigt, and I'm the coordinator of the Brain Power in a Backpack program for the district. This year, we are packing for approximately 775 students every week. This includes all preschool locations up to 8th grade. So we are in all elementary, pre-K, middle school locations this year. Every Thursday that we have a Friday in session, Burnsville volunteer students come down and pack 775 weekend food packs. We have outside volunteers, adults that come in, and they then take care of picking up all the bags and distributing them out to all of the different locations around the district on Thursday afternoon. We are celebrating 10 years of Brain Power, providing hunger relief for ISD 191 students. As Tom mentioned, 10 years ago, we were in one location in Sky Oaks Elementary with approximately 40 students. And today, we do 31 packs for approximately 775 students, which is about 21,000 weekend food packages that we put together every single year. We also started this year a weekly snack pack program that is for our special education focused students in the 10 elementary schools across the district. And they basically get 2 snacks each day of the week. Many of these students also participate in Brain Power, but it's just a little extra food help for them during the day. Brain Power's goal is to provide food assistance to the neediest of our families in the district. Our goal is to provide 20% for the students on free and reduced lunch. Last year, we were at approximately 24%. So not everyone on free and reduced lunch needs or wants Brain Power, so our goal is to cover that bottom 20% of students and families. Each weekend food pack consists of approximately 10 items. We do big packs when we're going into a long weekend. There are 2 entree items, 2 breakfast items, 2 snacks, 2 beverages, and always 2 fruit and vegetable items. Not always a favorite with the kids. Getting a can of corn is not exactly their thrill of the week, but corn is a good thing to eat. Since we have discovered being hungry is one of the #1 issues preventing learning with our students, Brain Power's goal is to help students come to school on Monday ready to learn. Bowls for Brain Power is our primary fundraiser for Brain Power in a Backpack. It is also our primary public relations and community outreach program. This year is our 9th year for Bowls for Brain Power. We invite, every year, we do 3 to 4 Potter's Oak Calls where we invite students, staff, community members from around the district and the community to come in and make bowls and other pottery creations. And then the second week in April, we celebrate. We had a wet day, we had weather, but we still got to celebrate. There were bugs, there were bowls, mugs, and much more available than what we've ever had before. There's a real variety, not just bowls this year. There are more than 800 items available, of which we still have some stock. You can see it out in the display case, and we did our first pop-up store at a BEA event, and so there may be a few more opportunities for those throughout the year. Our financial goal this year was $15,000, and we are on our way to making around $16,000 with bowls this year. It is supported by our art department and ISD 191 Community Education. This year is under the direction of Kate Quirk and Robin Toussaint. Next year, Robin will be our pottery expert for the 2019-2020 school year. And she is very excited. She's got lots of ideas, so you'll be seeing more information coming out in the fall. The idea of bowls is that you make a donation, you come in, you pick out a pottery creation, and then you get to enjoy a delicious cup of soup. And this year we were fortunate enough, our soup sponsors were Porter Creek, the Olive Garden, Roasted Pear, D. Fong's, Jensen's, Sean Soups, and the BHS Culinary Arts Pathway. One of my goals starting this program was to expand out and reach out to restaurants that were in Eagan and Savage. We have always just focused on Burnsville. I live in Savage. So I reached out and made a point of trying to find other restaurants so that we could have the taste of ISD 191 and not just the taste of Burnsville. And a special shout out to our marketing and publicity individual. His name is Tom Gritke, and he works for or runs Skyline Midwest Designs, and he is responsible for all of our lovely banners. He salvaged them after they were destroyed by the wind and the snow, but he puts together all of the logos and all of the wonderful signage that you see for bowls, and he does a wonderful job. I just wanted to highlight a couple of our outstanding organizations. We have many, many individuals and families that donate, but there are a group of organizations and faith communities that provide extraordinary support to Brain Power. Both of our Burnsville Rotary organizations, they have both been in on the start of Brain Power and are outstanding supporters. Cargill Salt out of the Ports of Savage, Target in Burnsville, ISD 191 Internal Giving. We couldn't do it without them. They provide approximately 1/3 of our budget every year. Minnesota Valley Electric Operation Roundup Program. They are based out of Scott County, but 3 of our elementary schools and 1 of our middle schools are in their service area. So they have provided quite a bit of financial support for Brain Power this year for our Savage part of the district. Foundation 191, the Egan Foundation, the Burnsville Education Association, the River Hills United Methodist Faith Community, the Prior Lake Savage Optimist Club. I did have to remind them that there is another school district in Prior Lake Savage, just across the road. The Affinity Credit Union, Walmart in Burnsville, and many of our individual elementary and middle school parent-teacher organizations provide us with financial support and also do a variety of food drives throughout the year. This year, between donations to Brain Power and our Bowls event, we are approximately going to raise a little over $70,000, which we will be using to purchase foodstuff for students around the district. The more money we are able to raise, the higher quality of food that we are able to put into the packs. We can expand beyond ramen and macaroni. We are on track to have more than 550 student and community volunteers that participate in a combination of both programs throughout the year.
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions or comments? Director Courier.
Well, you all know I've been in the district a long time. And this is one of my favorite programs of all time in this district. Because I've seen kids come in Monday morning for a lot of years, and they run, for many years, we didn't have breakfast.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we didn't even have breakfast for a lot of years. So when we had breakfast, kids would come in. That was a start. But so this program is, and I have known of a family that benefited from this program when they lived in our district. This is one of, I can't be biased, but this is one of my favorite programs in this district. So, and when we changed our giving in the fall, I'm so glad that we targeted this program and helped these families and these children. So, and I bet we would take any check that anybody in our audience or anybody that's listening to us, I bet we'd take some of those checks. I bet we would. But thank you for all of your work on this program.
Thank you, Director Courier. Board members, any other comments? I really like the idea of innovating around who you're connecting with throughout our school district. Having representation from Burnsville, Egan, and Savage is an important part of who we are. So thank you for picking up on that and running with it. Great presentation, great success this year, and we'll look forward to hearing more next year.
Great.
Pam has done an outstanding job. She's phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, I would like to invite Shannon McParland and Akram Osman to the podium. And I believe we have another guest as well. We're going to receive a report on Metcalf Middle School. Welcome.
So hello, Board Chair, Alt, Directors, and Superintendent Amoroso. I'm Shannon McParland. I am the principal at Metcalf Middle School.
I'm Akram Osman, the Associate Principal at Middle School. And I'm Alan Bordelson, 8th grade social studies teacher at Metcalf.
So we're going to begin with talking about our demographics. This is a layout of it, the demographics at Metcalf. We are about 52.6% white. We have about 12% Latino students, about 21% Black and African American students, 6.5% Asian students. Students with 2 or more races makes up about 6.6 of our population of students, and then a small percent of the other. The graph also shows you that, and that comes right off of the MDE website for our demographics. Our site improvement goal is here. It's the percentage of all students enrolled at Metcalf Middle School by October 1st who meet and exceed the MCA standard in reading will increase by 2%, and our non-white student group meeting or exceeding the standard gap compared to our white school will decrease by 4%. So we want that gap to go down, and we also want overall scores to go up. We are committed to excellence for all students and being honestly reviewing the data and the overall data to look at those appropriate changes. And so we looked at the white students and we looked at the non-white students, and we noticed a really big gap between them, knowing we needed to focus on those across the board. When you look at our data coming off of the MDE website again, it directly aligns to the why of why we chose what we chose to look at. Reading last year for the 2017-18 school year, the state reading achievement was 59.2%. ISD for the middle schools were 52.2, and Metcalf was 51.9. So we know that we are below both of those marks. In math last year, the state achievement score was 56.2. ISD score was 45.7, and Metcalf was at 42.1. Again, we know that we're below both of those marks. So when we look at our trends for the last 3 years, and that's what that graph, the larger graph shows you, that you will see that the state proficiency is about 60%. ISD proficiency ranges between 53 and 54%, and Metcalf stays around 50 and 52%. So we are looking at those gaps and wanting to move those up to the level that we know we can get to. So when we look at specifically reading, we decided to dive into that data and look directly at how it aligns with our goals. We know when we look at our white students, 66% of all of our students are in the white category are achieving. That is roughly 166 students out of 249 students in that category. When we looked at our black students, 34% of those black students are achieving meeting standards or above. That is 53 students out of 173 students. When we looked at our Hispanic, 20% of our Hispanic students were achieving standards. That is 25 out of 126 students. So we knew when we looked at it, we needed to commit to the data and really continue to analyze it, continue to collect it, triangulate it, look at multiple measures to really figure out what aspects at Metcalf do we need to do and put in place for all of our students to achieve at high levels and have excellence around it.
So some of the areas of focus for us right away in July, one area that we put emphasis in is our positive behavior interventions and supports. And we started with inviting our students, some of our staff members also joined us in July to come up with our Metcalf mindset. And just an overview from the Metcalf mindset, it stands for, it's using the word pride, but then breaking that down to acronym, what it stands for. So promote success, remember kindness, inspire others, develop balance, and engage in learning. And that has really led us to work with our students in incorporating those mindsets into everyday learning. So during the workshop week, we included all of our staff to give us feedback on what we came up with our students. And that has just been ongoing work for us throughout the school year. We received a PBIS grant, and one of the feedback we got was to share the Metcalf mindset with, teach the Metcalf mindset that we came up with this year to all of our students, but then also have the mindset that we can do ongoing improvements to it as the year goes. So right now, part of the grant that we received, we want to make the posters we came up with permanent and colorful in all of our spaces, whether it's the classroom, the hallways, around the lockers for our students. Another area is the celebrations that we do regularly with our students that, as our students model the Metcalf mindsets, whether it's individual rewards or group celebrations, like the No Tardy party that we have for our students. And so that's an area of focus for us to build our climate and culture of our schools. Another area of focus for us was AVID, and part of our SIP process was we focused on, focused note-taking, critical reading with marking the text, aligned with the work that our ELA teachers are doing on a daily basis in the classroom, as well as Schoology. And part of the Schoology is we have developed a course for our staff to help with restorative practices. We also came up with ways to help them when they have advisory time to help teach the Metcalf mindsets and other lessons that relate back to PBIS. So some of the ongoing work that we'll have and that we have done throughout the year is having circle time during advisory time, and that we model that in our staff meetings, where part of building the school community, we do it with ourselves as far as staff go, and a lot of our staff professional developments, we have the same way we approach that similarly as the staff would do it with our students in the classroom to build community and to build connection. Other ways that we have worked with our families is regularly scheduled, home communication, whether it's phone call home to home, whether it's email, whether it's home visits, and our staff of our Dean of Students, counselors, social worker have helped tremendously with those efforts. And all of the work that we're doing is with the lens of a culturally proficient school systems, and understanding that, how to serve our students and our families at Metcalf Middle School.
So as a staff this year, we created the Metcalf Vision, which aligns with District 191's mission of each student future ready, community strong. This was an ongoing process for the entire year. This vision consists of our 4 most important goals that we had and came up with as a staff. And it's the driving force behind our why, or the reasons that we do what we do. And the 4 are posted there so you guys can read those. Based on the data that we've collected over this entire year and the progress that we've had with our SIP and all the work that we've done as a staff throughout the building, we have some focus areas that we want to continue looking at. The first one is to strengthen our PBIS Metcalf mindset. As Mr. Osmond said, we had grant money for permanent signage that we're going to put up all over the school. Continue to find new ways to reward our students for doing the right thing. As he mentioned, we did no tardy parties to encourage students to get to class on time, and have a little celebration for the many students who were able to do that, and it's been pretty successful. We want to continue to strengthen our relationships with middle school families, and one important way to do that is to reach families prior to enrolling in Metcalf. So we had the Explore Metcalf night this past year, and we invited 5th grade students to come in and just take a look at the school, meet some teachers, meet the administration, take a tour of the school, look at different clubs that they could join, drama, the BYC program that we offer as well. So that was a plus, and we'd like to find more ways of inviting families into the school and keep them in for the 3 years that they're with Metcalf. We also want to increase student voices, and we've done that throughout this entire year with the Junior National Honor Society PBIS committee, with students getting involved in developing some of the Metcalf mindset as well. And we want to continue to work on AVID strategies, not just in the ELA classrooms, but cross-curricular. I teach social studies. I implement those strategies in my classroom every day. Technology, staff to staff, PD, learning new hints and new tricks from staff members goes a long way, and especially with the one-to-one initiative and learning the Schoology system. And then increasing student engagement as well. Maker spaces and escape rooms. I've done stuff with Breakout EDU in my classroom, which students have to solve different puzzles in order to get new clues, and then they have a solution. It's a pretty cool program. We have a lot of things that we're very proud of at Metcalf this year. Our commitment to hearing student voices is one of the main focuses that we've had. As we mentioned, the PBIS Summer Committee, we had students come in during the summer and help create that Metcalf mindset program or ideas, and then we went with their ideas and brought it to the staff as well. Various leadership groups that we have in the school. One of my favorite things that we've done this year was the team building with staff and students. We had the opportunity to attend the U of M basketball game, the women's basketball game. It was a lot of fun. The 8th graders had the opportunity to go a little bit earlier, meet with some college students and ask them questions about preparing for college and college life. So that was really interesting for them. They got to tour the entire university, so they got to see what college life was like. And then we joined the 6th and 7th graders and watched the basketball game, and they fortunately won, and I got to teach some of my students how to sing the rouser and the proper way to say "Sky Ma." So that was a lot of fun. And then you can't talk about Metcalf Middle School without talking about the Metcalf chess team. They're currently competing in the National Junior High Chess Competition in Dallas. And this is against 1,000 middle school students from across the nation. So we're excited to hear how they're doing. That's going to come up in the next couple days. And then Brian Ribnick will be inducted into the Minnesota Chess Hall of Fame on May 12th. So that's pretty exciting, former colleague of mine. Building a positive community. Students and staff have been spending a lot of time this year building a positive community. Certain things that we've done in advisories with our advisory circles and team building activities to teach our students social skills like cooperation, taking turns, resolving conflicts in positive ways. That's been a lot of fun with the students and getting to know them on a social level as well. And then we have celebration of staff, which includes providing the staff treats for access testing and the lucky duck drawings. Every week on a Friday, we pick a duck, and that staff gets to have a reward, some little prize. So that's always something to look forward to. And the next steps, we're going to continue with the MTSS support model, teaching our students and supporting them academically, socially, and emotionally, using the counselors, social workers, and psychologists in this. And then, again, building student voices, continuing that process, and the PBIS as well.
So thank you. Akram, and my information is on there. Ellen, you can find right next to us. You just got to look them up on the website.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions or comments, board members? Thank you very much. Always appreciate hearing more about our schools. And next, we're going to learn about Vista View Elementary with Principal Jeff Nepson and Jen Houtman. Welcome.
Thank you. Board Chair Alt, directors, and Superintendent Amoroso, and student leader Sundus. We're excited to be here. I'm Jeff Nepson, principal at Vista View Elementary School.
And I'm Jen Houtman. I teach 3rd grade at Vista View.
Whoops. Sorry. Vista View is a safe, welcoming place to learn where all students are valued, challenged, and supported by our families and staff so that every learner experiences academic and personal growth.
And from our mission statement, we have great things going and great things coming.
So who are our students at Vista View?
This is a picture of one of our kindergarten classes after a visit with the Burnsville firefighters, and they got a chance to tour the fire truck. Always a fun day.
And this picture is a great pictorial representation of our students at Vista View. When I'm out and about the school, classrooms, hallways, I'm really, really often struck by the beautiful children that we have in our school. And sometimes I get kind of emotional when I think about the opportunities and the honor and the privilege that we have to teach these students that are in front of us every single day. So when we go through this presentation, this is what we want you to remember and see. We'll provide some numbers and data, but these are our students. So numerically, you can see who our students are as well. This slide shows, again, the beautiful diversity that we have at Vista View. So I'll just give you a moment to look at those numbers. And another numerical representation of our students at Vista View.
But as Jeff said, this is how we see our students. They're happy, they're excited, they're little human beings that we have the honor and privilege to serve each and every day.
For our school improvement plan this year, for our GAP goal, we decided to focus on our special education students. And so we're using our measures of academic progress, our MAP testing in reading. We're looking at the expected growth, so the meets and exceeds students. And we want that to increase for our special education students from 41.9% meeting their growth expectation in the spring of last year to 50% of those students meeting that by this spring. So this would help with the progress toward closing that gap. Currently, our non-special education students are at a 60.6% meeting their growth targets, and our special education students are at 41.9. So we want to start to close that gap by that 8% increase. So our action plan for that goal really was focused on our data. We looked at our data, and that's where we figured out where our biggest gap was. So we started intentional collaboration between our special ed staff and our general education staff. We are sharing the progress monitoring through Ames Web. So we've got gen ed teachers doing progress monitoring. We also have our special education teachers taking students and progress monitoring them. The cool part about that is it's not done in isolation. We come together, they are part of our CT meeting, and then the special ed teachers share the current data that they're experiencing through their progress monitoring with the general ed teachers. So the other cool thing about that is not all classroom teachers will have a special education student that's being progress monitored by a special education teacher, but the whole team is there to hear how are our students doing in reading and the progress that they're meeting. So they talk about the intervention that they're using, the data, they look at the charts, the information that they're receiving with each other. This has been a really great partnership because it's deepened the understanding of what general education does and what special education does. There's this connection, there's this partnership now. Because they're looking at the IEP, the general ed teachers are getting briefed on that at least once a month, like these are the goals, this is how we're working toward those goals, and we will work on this more, but I want general education teachers to know the IEP goals as much as the special education teachers do, so they can continue to reinforce that when they're not in the special education setting. And then the other cool partnership is that the special education teacher gets to see what gen ed looks like. And there's this great partnership happening between those two collaborative staffs. So I have anecdotal data for you because we don't know the results of this yet. We're getting through testing right now. Our MAP testing will come later. But anecdotally, the teachers have some great things to say about this partnership. They say students know their progress goals. Students know their goals, and when they leave the special education setting, for example, they're so excited to go back and tell their general education teacher, look what's happened, I'm growing, I'm learning. And so they're sharing that, and the teachers also share that some of them have bypassed their goals. And so the kids know that, and they'll share that with their teacher, and they're excited to do so. Another teacher said communication with the special education teachers is effective, and the students are surprised that we know what's going on. Because there's that collaboration, they know what's going on because they're talking about it. And they're being held accountable. The specific conversations about student goals and their IEPs is really used to support the students in the general education classroom. Like I said, we can improve on that collaboration and that conversation, but the teachers are saying we know more about their goals on their IEP. This is the best here. I love having a SPED teacher involved in our collaboration. She usually has a different outlook, voice, and instructional vision that has helped support many of our students, not only the identified special ed students. So it's been wonderful to work with her. So they beg for that to continue. When we talk about next year, what do we need to keep doing? We need to keep collaborating with our SPED teachers.
Last year, from the 2018 MCA math scores, Vista View was given the designation as being a support school. And we took that on as a challenge to create a plan and surrounding our math instruction. And what we did for our professional development for staff was in this action plan was to intentionally focus on high quality instruction in math and using the Math in Focus framework and the tools of concrete, pictorial, and abstract instruction for students in that context of our collaborative teams and the high collaboration between staff has really been kind of the guiding force in that action plan for our math goal. Things that we have heard from staff that we see more confidence in students' abilities because they're using a wider range of tools to assess student understanding. We are working together to focus our teaching so that all students are learning and that there's consistency between classrooms and that we are working to continuously monitor, assess, and then actively meet the needs of all of our students.
So what do our students think? We did a survey. It was an in-house survey because we wanted to find out when we were planning for our school improvement plan, what do our students say we need to work on? And so the two pieces that we'd like to highlight of that survey are happiness and safety. So 83% of our students said they feel happy all or most of the time. I'm thrilled with that information. And then the students say, because I never feel left out, because I get to learn, because I know that the teachers keep us safe, because teachers are always there if I feel sad. And school is a great learning place. I love school so much. So it's great to hear that student voice. There's so much data. We asked about 15 questions, and they got to write narrative as well. So we're digging through that. We discovered that the playground equipment was an issue, so we're jumping on that. We're getting our PTO involved. We're going to have some money set aside to really have colored bags with colored equipment, so we know what grade level it's from, and we're gonna listen to that. And they gave us some other really great ideas of how we can improve spaces in our building. So it's really exciting to collect that student data.
Students also shared on how safe they felt at Vista View, and they said 79.4% of our students feel safe at school all or most of the time. And they said anecdotally, my friends and teachers make me feel that I belong. And another student said, because it's their first rule is to keep us safe. And of course, why wouldn't I feel safe at school?
again, this is what we're proud of, our kids. So I literally walked down to our big open foyer area, and I saw this group of kids sitting there doing what you see. They're reading together and talking and discussing, and I looked around and like, okay, there's no adult here. What's going on? And they were working independently in the main hallway, and I'm sure the adult was within earshot and kept checking on them, but I was so impressed I had to take a picture and tweet that out. It's like, wow, this is what we love to see. Our kids are participating in hands-on science, being respectful with the materials. And then we're not going to talk a lot about Move Mindfully, but we've gone through the residency with that, and it's movement-based calming strategies for self-regulation. And those are two students in a reading intervention class showing us their calming, what do you call those? Poses, yeah. So again, this is what we're proud of, these beautiful little human beings that we get to be with every single day. Okay, some of the more boring stuff, the data, right? We are proud of our work over time. So you can see this data says that from 16 to 18, math has improved a little bit, so we're watching that trend. That's what we want to keep seeing. Reading, amazing, even from 16 to 18, but from 17 to 18, we had a huge jump, and there are many factors. One is the fidelity in which the program was implemented. So I have to give hats off to Mr. Rob, who was there during that time. I've been in that building since July. So we are continuing to see, hope this trend continues. Science, just to show that, yes, we took a dip in 17, but from 16 to 18, or 17 to 18, we're seeing that go as well. So yes, we've got results that are showing some interesting ups and downs, but our goal is to continue to see the trajectory go the right direction.
As staff, we feel that we're proud of our work of continuously monitoring student progress and making sure that the work that we're doing is the work that they need. In that lens, we worked to a new master schedule halfway through the year because we found what we had thought would work didn't, and Jeff led the way of, let's try something else then. And also in that vein, the new work that we've done with Move Mindfully and what students need for self-regulation, in addition to the positive behaviors and interventions and supports, work has been really focused on them. What do they need? And just remembering that's why we're there. We have great things going and great things coming.
Absolutely. So thank you for letting us be here tonight and to share Vista View, and we would be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Great, thank you very much. Board members, questions or comments? Director Courier.
I do have one, and this may be for Superintendent Amoroso. They have about 5% of their children are homeless, and our viewers may not understand how we handle homeless students in general. How are they managed? I mean, I know how they are, but I think it would help our listeners to explain how are homeless students taken care of?
Well, first of all, we've done an increasingly better job over the last several years in identifying our homeless students. That tends to be the first challenge, is just even identifying those students, because when a family becomes homeless or a student becomes homeless, they're dealing with a lot of challenges, and letting us know that is not necessarily the first thing on their priority list. So with the additions of our social workers over the last 5 years, they've begun to play a significant role. They're working with families. They tend to know what's going on. As soon as a staff member here's something that would imply that a student is homeless, they notify an administrator. And the definition of homeless is quite broad. It doesn't mean that they don't have somewhere to go to sleep necessarily, but it means they've been displaced from their regular residence. And so we have, students who are qualify as homeless who may literally not have anywhere at night to go. But then we have a lot of families who are living with friends, who are living with family. And Jeff can add to this as well, but the McKinney-Vento Act is a federal act that requires us to take some of our Title I funding And we use that for transportation, so that if Jeff has a student at Vista View who becomes homeless and they're now living with relatives in Bloomington, the McKinney-Vento Act requires that that child is transported to their home school, so that there's the least disruption as possible for that student. And again, we do whatever we can with our families and students who we know are homeless. And Jeff, I don't know if you've got any specifics to add to that from the building perspective, but that's kind of the high level. Is that what you were getting at?
Yes.
Not really any specifics, but that transportation piece is huge, and they qualify that for the rest of the year, even if they do get a permanent housing situation. I think kids might be living with someone in North Minneapolis, so it's a long ride, but the stability of getting to stay in their home school is what we're looking for, and that we do feel like that's an important part of that. We have to do that. That's legislation that's working really well.
And that can go up to a full year.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that information. I mean, we know that, but
Yep.
the public may not know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Courier. Any other questions? I just had a couple of comments. I really appreciated how you brought the student and staff voices to us tonight, and particularly with the student voices, hearing how they interpret safety. There have been a lot of conversations around safety, and I thought the kids did a great job of illustrating how they feel safe. And it sounds, with the special education and general education collaboration, that's really fascinating. It almost sounds like internal PD for the teachers, and in addition to making a difference for the students, I'm sure. And it just got me thinking, I don't know who said it, but I've heard somebody say that each of us probably could have our own IEP. And so having general education and special education teachers together just kind of makes sense. So again, thank you. Great report. Thank you. We always appreciate learning more about our schools.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And next we will turn to Superintendent Amoroso for her report.
Thank you, Chair Alt. I have just a couple items for the board tonight. First of all, I want to talk about two opportunities I had earlier this month where I had the privilege of presenting the state of our schools to both the Savage and Burnsville Chambers of Commerce. The Savage Chamber has for a number of years hosted What's Cool in Our Schools, and we are able to share with their chamber what we have going on in that year in our school. This year, for the first time, the Burnsville Chamber hosted the State of the School District. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. But in presenting just even a few of the highlights from this year, it's clear that we are doing some amazing work for our students and for our entire community. Along with hearing about our efforts in improving our academic programs, providing safe and supportive schools, and growing stronger connections with 191 community partners, people who attended the Burnsville Chamber presentation also got the chance to tour Burnsville High School, and they had the opportunity to have a continental breakfast, which was provided by students in our culinary pathway. It's such an honor to share our story with business and community leaders and then to hear their reactions. Invariably, events like these open eyes to the reality of what's happening in our schools. They see innovation, partnership, community, and dedication. With that in mind, I know that discussions have already started taking place with the Burnsville Chamber about how to make this first event this year be even more impactful as we go. And we do plan to continue having the Burnsville Chamber hosting that State of the District into the future. I just want to add something because Mr. Deon Clark is still in our audience tonight. But Mr. Clark's comments really, really hit home for me in the importance of and the significance and the impact that business partners have with our community. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for your partnership and what you're doing with the adults in our district and ultimately for the students in our district. That's a perfect example of the kind of partnerships that we have been developing over the last 3 years with Vision 191 that are making such a significant impact now and will continue to make even greater impact for our students and the success of our students moving forward. So just had to take that opportunity to call that out and thank you for everything that you're doing. I also then want to thank Ann Massis at the Savage Chamber and Jennifer Harmoning, who you heard from earlier tonight at the Burnsville Chamber, for being such strong proponents of our 191 schools. It's thanks to partners like them and the business partners like Mr. Clark that they bring to us that help us in delivering on our mission of each student, future ready, community strong. Next, graduation rates for schools across Minnesota were released this week. And this year, the Department of Education did something a little bit different. The numbers were released, of course, as they always have been. However, this year, the Department of Education wanted to also tell stories about the students behind the numbers. They wanted to show how schools are meeting individual needs and preparing students for success and their futures. 5 District 191 graduates were featured by the Minnesota Department of Education over the course of the day, including students who found their passion thanks to Pathways at BHS, Burnsville High School, a student who found support and celebration for his mastery of more than one language by earning the bilingual seal, and students who are pursuing and achieving their dreams as immigrants thanks to their adult education and GED program participation. We know there is so much emphasis put on numbers like graduation rates, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I'm thankful that the Department of Education took this opportunity to tell a more complete story and featured some of our 191 graduates in the process. They deserve to be seen and they deserve to be celebrated for who they are and what they've accomplished here in 191. Finally, I'm going to end with a video that music teacher Rachel Lucius tweeted out this week. Rachel wrote with her tweet, "Every once in a while, life gifts you with a moment like this. Meet Leo. He is in 3rd grade. He taught himself how to play on his big brother's ukulele and asked if he could show me. I was not expecting this."
Okay.
I'm lost, trying to get from the ocean now. Oh, yeah, never ask me anyways, 'cause I don't know my name. I don't play by the rules game, so you say. I'm just trying.
As a former teacher who had innumerable students come to me at one point or another and say, "Let me show you what I did," or "Let me show you what I made," I'm not sure anything quite measures up to what he accomplished as a 3rd grader. When you see a smile at the end, I think that speaks to the power of learning something new and to the power of finding something you love. Thank you to Rachel for sharing this video, and thank you especially to Leo for having the courage to learn something new and sharing his talent. And that's the conclusion of my report for tonight.
Thank you. All right, turning to committee reports, we will start with the Policy Review Committee and Chair Director Courier.
Hang on, I gotta pull it up.
No problem.
The committee met this Tuesday We reviewed 10 policies in Level 700, which are labeled non-instructional operations and business services. Lisa Ryder was our point person. The policies will appear in our next agenda for your review, discussion, and initial approval. And that concludes my report of the Policy Review Committee.
Thank you. Next, we will turn to the Negotiations Committee and Chair Schatz.
There is no report at this time.
Very well, thank you. Legislative Committee, Chair Miller.
The Legislative Committee met on April 2nd, and we had the opportunity to entertain Scott Kroonquist from AMSD, Kirk Schneidenwin, and Denise Dietrich from MSBA. They were very informative and helpful in sort of crafting and thinking about where we're going to be heading with the Legislative Committee. They shared a lot around MSBA and the AMSD's plans for the future, or for the legislative session, and a little bit of how they work together. So it was an interesting learning experience. I think future reference will bring them in first, as we did, because it helps us tee up and line up for the next meetings. Speaking of which, we'll be meeting again in May, and we hope to be entertaining one of our local legislators at that meeting.
Great, thank you. Student Performance and Achievement Committee is now a committee of the whole, and I have met with members of leadership, and we have determined that periodic reports based on the world's best workforce's goals will be the reporting structure for those reports. As I said, they will be periodic, and I will be connecting with Dr. Mitchler and Brian Gersich to determine when the first report will come, probably in the next couple of months. Among other board appointments, do board members have other reports? Director Courier.
I do. My first one is the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. This month it was held on April 12th, the second Friday of the month, instead of the first Friday of the month. Despite the weather, if you recall, I did make it to the meeting. There were two interesting presentations. One was done by the Bloomington Public Schools on screening tools for dyslexia. The other was on third-party billing done by the Minneapolis School District. The presentations are available on the AMSD.org website. The third-party billing done by Minneapolis School District, they spent a year doing that study. They kept, of course, they're large enough where the third-party billing, and third-party billing is special education where they bill for certain services for special education students. And what was happening was their numbers, I mean, kids would end up with 2 or 3 numbers, and anyway, they were being refused the billing. So they actually took a year and double-checked all of those numbers, and it really paid off. So anyway, their presentation is on the AMSD website. Do check that out. And that's that report. The ISD 917 report. The regular monthly meeting was held Tuesday, April 2nd. Routine business items were covered, as well as personnel policies. 917 policies also follow the MSBA numbering system, so these policies were in the 400s. We approved the 2019-20 school calendar and the resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of the teaching contracts of probationary teachers. We were to have a special workshop on data practices related to the employment on April 16th. Superintendent Mark Zuzek and the 917 board knew I would be unable to attend that meeting due to our superintendent candidate interviews. The workshop was canceled and has been rescheduled to be held before our next monthly meeting, which is May 7th. I have let them know I will be a bit late due to our district's retirement tea. trying to fit everything in May and June is always a challenge, as we all know. But anyway, that's the 917 report. The Hall of Fame. We will be announcing the winners at our next school board meeting. We made our selection, but we need to let all the nominees know who was selected, and we need to notify them of their status. And until that's concluded, I'm unable to make that announcement. I will make it at the next meeting. And I have one last report. I attended the National School Board Association National Conference. March 29th through April 1st, I attended the National School Board Association Annual Conference in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On Friday, I attended an all-day pre-conference workshop called Happiness Advantage. It was great. There were at least 2 other Minnesotans in attendance from Wayzata. We did lots of activities throughout the day, connecting with each other and setting goals. And now here's a sample of sessions I attended Saturday through Monday. School board deeds and misdeeds, things we learned about effective boardmanship and student achievement. Succeeding in academics and ethics in a culturally diverse school district. And why should a superintendent candidate choose your district? The final main speaker was Michelle Gay, a parent who lost a child in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Her message was definitely resolute. Next year's conference is in Chicago. I've already talked to Abigail about it. We may want to think about a presentation because Chicago is relatively close, and we may be able to send a caravan down there to do a presentation. I talked to Chair Alt today a little bit about it. To see that national perspective, how different states handle school boards, and to interact nationally with other board members, it's helpful. It helps clarify either what's good about Minnesota or what we need to correct. I learned a couple of things that I have shared with Chair Alt already about maybe we want to look at how we operate as a board, and we can talk about that in a workshop. But you always pick up pointers. The one thing that I did see at this national conference compared to the one I went to in 2015 is, other than Michelle Gay, the main speakers were not as well known as I had seen in previous, like in 2015. But otherwise, it was a great conference. So that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you very much. Bless you. Are there any other reports? No? School assignments? Anything that people want to share? No? I have just one. As a heads up, I know we all got the invitation that there will be an international night at Eagle Ridge Middle School on Wednesday, May 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. And it's a collaboration among our Savage schools because I know that each of them, select schools in Savage, did their own international nights independently. And so now they're pooling their efforts and their interests. So that should be a lot of fun to go to. All right. And with that, are there any board member reports? No? All right. With that, let's get on to the business portion of our meeting. First, turning to the consent agenda, although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. In the event a board member wishes to discuss an item, that item will be moved for separate consideration. Is there anything that board members would like to separate? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Director Miller, second. Seconded by Director Hume. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Now on to new business. I would like to invite Stacy Sovine, Executive Director of Human Resources, to the podium. We are being asked to approve dental and health premium changes. Welcome, Stacy.
Good evening, Chair Alt, Superintendent Amoroso, board members. If I might, before starting with this, just add one item to the report list, although I wasn't invited, I want to let you know.
Feel free, yes.
Okay. Tuesday, May 7th, at 3 to 5:30 at the Ames Center, we will be celebrating the retirement of many of our staff members. All are invited. This is not a closed event. This is open to members and families of the district to celebrate those staff. So, May 7th, 3 to 5:30, open house style with food and music in celebration at the Ames Center. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Stacy. Really appreciate it.
Moving on to our insurance piece. We are completing our 6th year of self-funded. Just to give you a little bit of history on this, for a number of years before we became a district that had a self-funded insurance plan, we had a number of years in which our business was bought with 0% increases from Health Partners, Medica, and other insurance companies in the local area. Come 2013, we were faced with an increase to our premiums of close to 45%. We were also faced with charges that were going to be applied to us through ACA. At that time, it was like, okay, instead of kind of chasing the low premium rate and then getting stuck with the high one later on, and just paying all of the savings from a good year to an insurance company for their profits, let's move towards a self-funded plan. To do that, we had to adopt 2 years of insurance increases of 16% the first year and 14% the second. The reason that we needed to adopt those percentage increases the first 2 years was to build up a reserve of 3 months of run out according to state statute. Okay? What that meant was if the plan were to resolve with no additional premiums or additional money coming in, we needed to cover the premiums for at least 3 more months for claims, coverage of claims, not premiums, costs of claims. To give you an example of what 3 months looks like, the last 3 months of claims for the district has equaled $4.5 million. Okay? Currently, our insurance medical reserve at the end of this year, we're projecting it to be close to $8 million or 45%. Our goal is a 50% reserve or 6 months. 3 months are mandatory. 3 months are that amount that allows us to set, instead of having peaks and valleys, to kind of play out the good years and the bad years. We hope not only to have a 50% level for our reserve, but to be able to maintain our insurance premium somewhere between 3 and 5%. Last year, for those of you that were here, you'll remember the conversation that we had at the table to where the insurance company was saying, you're probably close to a 7.5% increase. We went with 5 because that was the whole point. Have a larger reserve so that you could use that to level out the high years. This year, we were very fortunate. Our claims, if you will, were down, okay? However, we're still looking between a 5.5 and a 6.2% increase. Why? Part of that is to do with our stop-loss insurance. Stop-loss insurance is that second layer of insurance. We pay the first $125,000 of claims on high claim cases, okay? After that initial $125,000, if somebody still needs additional medical care, stop-loss covers that portion of the insurance. Sometimes reinsurance is the other term that you might hear for this. For the past 4 years, we have been trending over what our premiums have been. Our premiums are around $800,000, but our expenses have been closer to $1.1 million. regardless of what happens with our general reserve, we will be looking at $200,000 increase in our stop-loss insurance portion, okay? The second thing I want to make you aware of, though, is while Preferred One, who does all of the processing of our paperwork for the claims, when you go to the doctor, the district does not see any of the claims. We don't have any of the employees' information. That all goes through Preferred One. Preferred One and I'm going to mess this up. Digital One, too close in names. It's our broker. Both are making the recommendation of that kind of 5.5 to 6.2%. But they're working under the assumption that you don't want to tap into your reserve, okay? Insurance companies are very much like actuaries. They want to give you a safe range. Worst case scenario, best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you don't put anything into your reserve and you have a really bad year of claims and this is what you'll be okay with. Best case scenario, you'll be over here. And hopefully, quite frankly, you'll end up somewhere in the middle and be happy with that. Facing our current budget situation and knowing that our reserve is already at 45%, went back to our brokers and to the Preferred One and said, well, what if we slowed down the rate in which we're increasing our reserve? Instead of moving towards the 50% goal as rapidly as we are, and rapidly, that's over 6 years, it isn't that rapid, but as rapidly as we are, what would happen if we slowed that down and give me a number that doesn't take us below a 40% reserve? They weren't real comfortable with that, but they came back with 3.5% increase on our insurance premiums. And that's the recommendation that I'm bringing to you tonight. What that means is, on the worst of worst cases, for us this upcoming year, we might dip into our reserve of $8 million and have to reduce it by about $500,000, a little bit more than that. But we wouldn't drop below our 40% threshold. We would still be able to maintain our 3 months of run out. And I think for the long term, be able to maintain our goals of having between 3 and 5% increases year over year. No one in the district wants to go back to double-digit increases. When we have good years, those are good. That money stays with us. It helps offset the bad years. It doesn't go to an insurance company. It stays with us. And that's a positive thing. So for our medical plan, I'm recommending a 3.5% increase, and I'll read through the recommendation. We also have a self-funded plan for our dental insurance. Our dental insurance is solid, has been solid for many years. We went many years with no increase on that. The last 2 years, I think, have been at 3%. This year, we're coming back with only a 1% increase need. Okay, so would you like me to read the recommendation, or?
Yes, please.
I'm not going to read through all of the rates, okay? A little monotonous, but the recommendation is that the Board of Education approves the FY20 premiums and rates for employee benefits. Below are the premium rates for the respective employee benefits for our July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020 plans. And those costs are broken out for you. I didn't mention life insurance and LTD. We have no change in those rates. Okay.
Great, thank you very much. I will take a motion to approve the recommendation. Moved by Director Schatz, seconded by Director Miller. Are there questions or conversation? Nope.
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to go.
Go ahead.
No, I do want to ask a couple things, just for, actually more of a clarification for us and the general public. And I don't remember where I'd seen the, okay. At 3.5%, due to the contracts we have with most of our employee units, they're not truly paying a 3.5% increase, correct?
That's correct. For family coverage, nearly half of our employees pay 70%, teachers pay 80%, and then we have other positions that pay, the district pays 83%. I have that flipped around.
Yep,
District
I was
pays
gonna
70%, teachers pay 80. No, for the teachers, the district pays 80, and for administrators, principals pay 83%. So on average, the district's probably picking up about 78% of the premium increase.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? No. Having been there, I remember it was my first year on the board when we were having those really difficult conversations about the double-digit increases. And those 2 years were probably the most stressful to be on the board when it came to the insurance rates. And even after we went self-insured, it was still a little stressful because, you know, it just takes time to build up that reserve. So it's nice to hear just 3.5%.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady, yes. So if there is no other discussion, all those in favor of approving the recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And we will stay with Stacy. We're being asked to adopt a resolution relating to the termination of teaching contracts for named long-term substitute teachers effective at the close of the 2018-2019 school year.
The first two business items that I am addressing are annual housekeeping, if you will, types of items. The first one is we are very appreciative of the long-term subs who come in, fill in for our teachers while they are out on leave, ranging anywhere from 30 days up to all year. So every year we go through the process, we have independent contracts with them, and then just kind of finish up the loop here and complete their employment with us through this process. The recommendation is that the Board of Education adopt the following resolution. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of School District 191 that teaching contracts of the following long-term substitute teachers be terminated at the close of the 2018-2019 school year. Be it further resolved that written notice is sent to said teachers regarding termination and non-renewal of his or her contract as provided by law.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adopt the recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Director Courier. Second? Seconded by Director Hume. Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting this recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next, we're being asked to adopt a resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of that portion of teaching contracts in excess of 1.0 and/or beyond contractual rights at the conclusion of the 2018-2019 school year.
What this is referring to are those folks who travel between buildings and they may not be receiving their prep, so we compensate them for prep. They may have overloads within their building, so there's additional compensation for that. Or there may be supervision like during the lunch hour, so staff may be losing lunch. So all of that additional time is calculated into an FTE and is a short-term assignment, usually for 1 year or by semester. Again, housekeeping item to where we clean this up, reestablish folks to their original base FTE. So it is the recommendation that the Board of Education adopt the following resolution. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Independent School District 191 that the portion of teaching contracts of staff in excess of 1.0 or contractual rights be terminated at the close of the 2018-2019 school year. Be it further resolved that written notice is sent to said teachers regarding termination and non-renewal of his or her contract as provided by law.
Thank you. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Director Schott. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Courier. Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Moving right along, we're being asked to adopt a resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of teaching contracts of probationary certified personnel at the close of the 2018-19 school year.
This is always the difficult one that we have to face every year. Part of the list of teachers on here are probationary staff that aren't necessarily the best of fits for our district, are not necessarily bad teachers, but just not a good fit for our district. But the vast majority of the teachers on this list are the result of right-sizing our class sizes and budget reductions. We have a lot of quality people that we will be losing this year, and it's very unfortunate. Recommendation is that the Board of Education adopt the following resolution. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Independent School District 191 pursuant to Minnesota Statute 122A.40 that the teaching contracts of the following licensed probationary teachers in Independent School District 191 be terminated at the end of the 2018-2019 school year. Be it further resolved that written notice is sent to said teachers regarding termination and non-renewal of his or her contract as provided by law.
Thank you, Stacy. And thank you for those words. I know I speak on behalf of the board. This is never an easy action item. I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Director Courier, second. Seconded by Director Miller. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next, thank you, Stacy. Lisa Ryder, Executive Director of Business Services, is going to join us. We're being asked to award the bids for the 2019 tennis court reconstruction projects at the Burnsville High School and Nicollet Middle School. Welcome, Lisa.
Good evening, Chair Alt, Superintendent Amoroso, board members, and Sundus. Tonight we are talking about an agenda topic that is awarding bids for a project that is going to be done this summer. This is for our fiscal year 1920 projects. Just to put a little context into where this comes from, these projects, and this is the first of a few you'll see in the next few board meetings, these were approved basically in a 10-year plan for an LTFM, which is long-term facility maintenance money. These dollars that are set aside for a specific purpose of only being able to be used for health and safety and deferred maintenance means. Okay, so statute's very clear on exactly what it can and cannot be used for. So with that, you have to plan out a 10-year plan of exactly what it is you have on your list. And a year ago, in May of 2018, is when you were asked to approve that list, and specifically for that which is Pay 19 levy process, that you then approved in both preliminary September and then final in December. All of that was for next fiscal year. So you can see where a lot changes in 11 months. So in the meantime, since it was first approved, we have to approve it by a dollar amount, and in addition, we have to list it by the type of work that will be done. We submit this to MDE with your approval, and with that information then, it is used for the dollar amount to be levied with our taxpayers. So essentially, these projects have been funded at a dollar amount, okay? Now, as things change, we have the flexibility to be able to adjust projects as need be. And in our case here, one of the items listed in our project for 1920 was the Sky Oaks roof. As it turns out, the Sky Oaks roof is not necessarily resulting in any real concerns at this moment, and we actually can push that back a year or maybe longer. We've been doing this for a few years now. And that's the thing about these projects. Our operations director is consistently reviewing the projects for the necessity, okay? Now with that, that means then we had levied a certain dollar amount with our taxpayers. And just to be clear, we have a 10-year list that is not $1.5 million per year, which is what we try to keep it at, but rather a list that totals $65 million, okay? We have a very long list of needs. At the same time, we are looking at what is the most prevalent need and how do we adjust for that. So if the Sky Oaks roof was going to come off because it wasn't necessarily leaking in any way, yes, we're out of the warranty, but we're just keeping an eye on it, then what else do we move up in that place, okay? So one of the things that became apparent were the tennis courts, both at the high school and at our Nicollet location. The high school tennis courts, we had to actually patch in order to have a season this year. Otherwise, they would be unusable. So both those
locations and their tennis courts are what this project is about. So on April 4th, bids were received and publicly read aloud, and our Burnsville High School and Nicollet Middle School tennis court reconstruction projects. 4 contractors submitted bids on these projects, and so this particular agenda is actually calling for a recommendation to award this to one of the vendors. And if you wouldn't mind, I'll read that recommendation. That the Board of Education award the base bid in the amount of $266,300 and alternate number 1 in the amount of $4,500 for the Burnsville High School Tennis Court Reconstruction Project, and award the base bid in the amount of $139,833 for the Tennis Court Reconstruction Project at Nicollet Middle School.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you also for that additional context. I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Director Schatz. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hallwiger. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the all those in favor of approving the recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Lisa. And next, I will present, we're being asked to approve the employment contract for our superintendent of schools. Just give me a second, please. New superintendent of schools, yes. All right. In working with Dr. Battle to come to agreement on this contract, we wanted to keep in mind a few things. First, we wanted to acknowledge the experience, knowledge, skills, and education that Dr. Battle brings to 191. We also wanted to be mindful of the larger picture of our district. We just came through a difficult budget process, and the financial pressures we face are unlikely to subside. With that in mind, we simply can't sustain large salary increases. This contract is just the first of many that will be negotiated this year, and it reflects our financial reality. Lastly, the contract aims to provide Dr. Battle with a solid foundation so that she and we can succeed together. On behalf of the school board, I am pleased to know that Dr. Battle will join us on July 1st. We know that Dr. Battle will leverage the breadth and depth of her professional career to lead us through challenges and celebrations alike, and that she will help us build on our current work to ensure each student is future ready and community strong. Under Dr. Battle's leadership, I'm confident that our community will be engaged with and proud of our schools, that our staff will know they are valued contributors to essential, impactful work, and that our students will know they are cared for and that doors to success are open to each of them. I am truly excited about what we will accomplish together on behalf of our students, families, and this great community. And now I would like to share some additional details included in the terms of the contract with Dr. Battle. As is customary with our superintendent contracts, this is a 3-year contract. Dr. Battle's base pay will be $187,000 with 1% increase for each of the 2 subsequent years. Dr. Battle may convert up to 7 days of unused vacation into her 403B and up to 3 unused sick days to an HRA. Valuations for TSA match, automobile allowance, and for holding a doctorate degree remain flat. This community made it clear in conversations and in feedback during our superintendent search that there was a desire for Dr. Battle to embed herself in our community, with some even asking if she might consider moving here. Therefore, should Dr. Battle choose to live within our boundaries, this contract has an addendum which allows for reimbursement of up to $6,000 in moving expenses incurred between July 1st, 2019 and January 2021. And finally, we have new language to address healthy communications as a board, and it reads, no later than September 1st, 2019, the board and the superintendent shall meet to discuss and agree on the process and procedures for how they shall communicate. At least annually thereafter, the board and the superintendent shall meet to review and discuss the process and procedures regarding how they are communicating. With that, I will take a motion on the recommendation that we approve a contract for our new superintendent.
So moved.
Moved by Director Miller,
Second.
seconded by Director Courier. Are there questions or comments? Director Miller.
I have three things. First, I'd like to acknowledge the time that Chair Alt has put into the negotiations of this contract. I know for a fact it was extensive amount of personal time she put into it and a considerable amount of thought, so I'd like to acknowledge that. Thank you very much for your work on that. I'd also like to, and I'm sure we all will do this multiple times, welcome Dr. Battle. I know I myself am super excited about her coming tenure here at Burnsville. Not to put her into expectation setting, but my understanding is she's already got some plans this weekend to do some work, so that's pretty impressive. And third, I'd like to, and we'll do this again many times, but I would like to acknowledge our current superintendent, Amoroso. It must be a little weird sitting here listening to your successor's contract negotiation. So I'd just like to take a moment and acknowledge you at the table and thank you for everything you're doing. And I'm sure that Dr. Battle will be reaching out to you imminently to make connection and make that transition very smooth. So thank you for everything you're planning on doing too. So, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Director Miller. Any other comments? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. With that, after we adjourn, we'll take, say, 5 minutes as a break, and then we will go straight to a workshop on a board review of our superintendent search process and best practices. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Director Schatz, second.
Second.
Seconded by Director Hallweger. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we're adjourned, and thank you all very much. We'll be back in 5 minutes.